Hello there. This is where the fun begins.
What's up, guys? Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we are going to be discussing some inside details about The Mandalorian, about the overall filming and production of the show, what this could mean potentially for the future of not just The Mandalorian with The Mandalorian Season 4, but also the entirety of the Mandoverse. We're going to go ahead and hop right on into it. In this video we are going to be taking a read from the Direct's article. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. Before we hop into it, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're discussing and talking about all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button and join us today. I also want to quickly mention that we also have our merch store live. It's linked in the description down below. I also have a couple of promo codes so you guys can get some money off. Go check it out. Okay, as the article reads, the cinematographer on Star Wars' latest Disney Plus show, Ahsoka, addressed the biggest difficulty of filming with the volume technology on not just the Ahsoka show, but also with The Mandalorian. And so, before its Disney Plus debut, The Mandalorian became the first show in history to utilize the volume technology, a massive soundstage with a dome-shaped panel of screens that can put actors in almost any possible environment, building the set right there in real time. The tech was later used on MCU productions such as Thor: Love and Thunder and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I'll also mention that we have a Marvel channel linked in the description down below. Although it's earned its fair share of complaints from the fans over the years, it's used some areas better than others, arguably. Specifically, fans feel that the visuals lose much of their flair and realness when depicted with the volume's screens, although those using the tech to make these shows and projects have their own challenges with it as well, as the Mandalorian cinematographer spoke on this. And so, in a recent exclusive interview with the Direct's Richard Niebens, Star Wars' cinematographer Eric Spielberg dove into the challenges of shooting with the volume technology. Spielberg worked on The Mandalorian Season 2 as a director of photography with the volume technology. While his work on The Mandalorian Chapter 14 specifically was shot all practically in the hills of Simi Valley, California, Ahsoka was his first exposure to the volume or even seeing it in person. Outside of that, he compared his work without the volume to what he did working on with the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie and the MCU's Hawkeye Disney Plus show, saying that, in quote, "Well, when I did The Mandalorian, I just shot 4 days of second unit, and that was actually on location. Robert Rodriguez directed, and so I didn't have any exposure to that. It was actually the first time they've ever shot out of the studio, and so I was shooting Stormtroopers and Boba Fett's reveal out in the hills that I grew up in. When I started the Ahsoka show, though, that was my first exposure to using the volume or even seeing it in person. Everything else, even when we're shooting sets on blue screens, it's all pretty traditional. It's all things that we're used to. It's things that I've done on the Ghostbusters and the more recently Hawkeye Disney Plus show. Everything's real. Everything's there in front of you." Ending that quote right there. I really think that in a sense it's almost as a learning curve, like you're being introduced to this new technology when we're so used to like real things and like real, like sets and locations of filming. And then even when you do bring in that kind of technology, like stuff that's similar to what the volume is able and capable of doing, such as blue screens or green screens, even then it has that disconnect. Even then it still feels different and something that's like out of this world. The cinematographer goes on to explain that working with the volume can be difficult due to the amount of prep time, and that it's needed to build those three-dimensional sets that would show on the text screens when the actors eventually shoot their work, saying that, in quote, "And with the volume, the thing that is the biggest difference is the amount of prep time. It takes so very early on in the prep schedule. I was sitting there with the production designers and the virtual art department who were building these three-dimensional sets and spaces that were going to be on the screens, and we would use these virtual reality headsets and fly around, set up cameras and look at the angles and try to figure out what we needed and how we were going to shoot within the volume." Ending that quote right there. Part of me says that in a way, and this is no shade, he's being stubborn because he's on, maybe he's just like old and he's like used to using that other technology that I have mentioned, like green screens, essentially. Like, it's definitely jumping into like a whole nother world, especially as he mentions that they use like headsets to literally jump jump into the world of the volume and what's being projected on those screens for this overall world building. This requires a team to build a virtual volume in the computer that's maneuverable before figuring out if the camera angles can fit the necessary lighting for the scene. It's essentially like hopping into the Ready Player One like world of VR and trying to make a movie in that. Like, that's something that can be very difficult to do, and I don't blame him. I'm saying that, like, it's impressive that they're able to do this, and that it does work in most scenarios, as he also says that in quotes. And then we would take that and build a virtual volume in the computer and be able to move around that space and see what we had accomplished with that virtual set that they were giving us. And then I would have to figure out, okay, now that we've done that, now if it fits and now if it works for all the angles, are we able to light it? Are we able to take the lighting that we've established in this three-dimensional virtual set and replicate that lighting in the real world, in the foreground? So what's on the screens blends in with what's in the foreground in front of the camera. Ending that quote right there, it's like trying to blend these two different worlds together, of the real world and the world of the volume, essentially. And that is quite impressive to pull off, and it's difficult to pull off. Having to create something virtually within a lighting style that matches such a long time before production turned out to be the biggest difficulty for Spielberg, with those decisions becoming set in stone and able to go through many changes during filming. I do heavily agree with that, though, as if, like, when you're filming and you're, like, in the moment and something pops up into your head and you want to implement that into the story that you're telling, you're not able to do that with the volume technology very easily. That's something that takes even more work, and even then it costs more money and just would be much more difficult to even pull off. And so, this here all being said, will the volume technology be continued to be used in future Star Wars shows, both within and without of Star Wars? While the cinematographer Eric Spielberg and others have certainly noted and voiced the challenges that come with utilizing the volume technology on set, it appears that it won't be going away anytime soon. Andor creator Tony Gilroy admitted that there were times of where he would have loved to use it for his own show, and had gone on to explain that it does some great things, even through the shot of all of Cassian Andor's story with real-world locations, as a very prominent thing for newer Star Wars shows overall. For future Star Wars shows, though, however, like the upcoming The Acolyte series, shot at least part of its own story particularly with the volume, and that there is no official word on whether Skeleton Crew is taking that same approach, but seeing that it's also set within the Mandoverse, and all of the other Mandoverse shows have done the same, all seasons of The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew will probably follow suit with that as well. And with no timeline on when The Mandalorian Season 4 will debut, or any indications of Ahsoka definitely getting a second season, fans will be curious to find out exactly where the volume's future lies within the franchise, but I don't think it's going away. So this here all being said, guys, let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.